What's up, guys? It is Saturday the 19th, and the weekend's here for me finally. I had to work yesterday, which isn't normal for me, and I'm gonna have to work next weekend all weekend long, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get out a video next weekend. But we are working on our project ship box here. For those of you that are new, if anybody's new, this is our piece of junk all-wheel drive project car we're trying to build. And this is our trailing arm jig. This weekend we're going to be cutting and welding together some Wagovan arms. I'm making tubular rear trailing arms, but I'm still having hell finding inside hubs. I couldn't find any. I gave in and ordered some CRX ones that are supposed to work that came in, and I don't know if they're going to work or not. But hopefully we'll get all that tackled next weekend. I also spent my fucking savings account for the year on a lathe, which I've wanted for a long time, and I'm hoping that I can use that to turn down some CRX hubs. But we'll see. I actually started on these wagon arms last weekend. The video was getting real long, so I'll kind of backtrack to that and show you where we're at with it, and then hopefully we can get these knocked out and move on to something bigger and better next weekend. So let's get started. So I got the Wagovan arms on here, and they're not bolted down or anything yet. It still needs to lift up a little bit. But as we can see, I kind of figured on this. Like I said, it's not bolted down. We're already hitting on our jig right here. So that tells me my camber arm is going to be sitting right up in here, so I'm probably going to go ahead and have to chop this. That way I can get it to actually fit on the jig, and then obviously we'll rebuild it all and scoot it down when we get to that point. And we can also already kind of tell that we're going to be about an inch and a half off. That's where our cutting is going to come into play. So I'm gonna do some more eyeballing on it, and then probably go ahead and cut two pieces of it. Try to go ahead and do both of them at the same time. That way the cuts are symmetrical. They're the same on both. So I'm gonna do some eye fucking on it and cook up some lines. Here's something I figured out that might be able to help somebody else later on. The way that I built my jigs, it worked out kind of perfect, because if you remember, I talked about, get all this crap out of the way. I talked about finding the center line of the axle, or the axle nut, to the jig, and then replicating it down here to keep everything on the same center line. What I figured out is I can take, the bolt doesn't really match up perfect, but I took a piece of little bar stock and pinned it through back here where the tow arms go, and it seems like it keeps everything on the same center line. So if this is square and we know this center line is true, then in theory I should be able to find somewhere to pull a measurement off of, measure, and then square off this to cut, and then get a cut true to the center line. But in doing that, well, it should work out. It should work out perfect. I don't know, but we'll get into that here in a minute. But I was right about the bushings throwing everything off. If you look, we got pretty much the same gap here. By doing that, obviously the arms kicked out a little bit this way. It would have to be scooted over, in and over a little bit more for this line to be straight, which is why I just got this finger tight. We got a little gap right there, and then same thing over here. So judging on how close that gap is, I'm going to say that the jigs are fairly symmetrical. Alrighty, so I made another discovery. I was under the impression that I was just going to have to do the one cut in the middle of the trailing arm and shorten the wagon arms, because I've seen a ton of people talk about it. But the rear section of the trailing arm is not the same as the stock ones. If you get the bushing lined up, and I've checked, the bushing, it's got a little bit of play, but it don't have this much play. It's about a ½ inch off, and the angle's a little bit different on the rear toe arms. I can either cut these and shorten them up and kind of cock them back to get the right angle, or I can cut those in half, the factory trailing arms, and just weld the back half to them. I think that would probably be the easier option. And I know it's been done. Young Static did it. And I was wondering why he did it like that. I was wondering why he didn't just shorten the wagon trailing arms. I thought maybe it was an EF thing, like a CRX thing. But I see now why he did it the way he did it. Which that's probably the route I'm going to go. Okay, so here's a shot of the factory arm and the cut and modified, or the half factory arm, half Wagovan arm. And obviously this is where we're gonna have to, do some modifications up here too. Yes, I'm drinking at 11:30 in the morning. It's my birthday and I do what I want to. I got one half together. I'm getting all right with the old MIG welder. They're not great, they're not terrible. But anyway, so what I did here was I cut this is the EK trailing arm. I cut it right here and then right here, and you can see, this is all still the EK trailing arm, and then it's welded together there, and then I kind of split it down there and beat that in. So I'm going to weld all that up too. Then it worked together where the arms laid over each other almost perfectly, and there was a gap where I could put a piece of bar stock in here, weld it there, put a piece of bar stock in there, weld it there, and then do the same thing right there. It's going to be crazy strong. I would trust my kids in this. My kids will never ride in my car or in this car, but nonetheless, I'm surprised at how sturdy it came out. I was kind of sketched out about just hacking shit in half and, going to town, but the way I cut it and everything, it worked out really good. I don't know if you can tell, but this is exactly what I did on it. This one I haven't really fit as well yet, but it's cut, it's there, it's ready to go. But this is the EK trailing arm, this is the Wagon trailing arm. So I figured I'd just give you an idea of, you know, exactly how I cut it and how I did it. So I'm gonna finish welding this one up and then jump over on the other one. I'll try to record a little bit more because I didn't record any of that. The battery went dead, so let's get to it. So I got the arms welded up for the most part. Well, I got half of it welded up. But here it is. You know, you can see what's going on over there. Kind of how I did it. You know, this is the EK piece and it overlaps onto the wagon arm right there. And then I've got a plate in there that goes to the other side of the wagon arm. Same thing here. And then same thing on the bottom. But what I'm going to do now is what I've done is I cut out a piece of 1/8 inch or so plate, and I'm gonna come in here and weld it in just like that, and then I can run my supports up off of here. And I might have to come back in and notch out this a little bit more just to clear the camber arm, but we'll see here in a minute once I get it all tacked together or welded up. I'm almost out of gas on my welder. I mean, that is it right there. So I might only be able to tack these. It's Sunday, I can't get any more gas today, so. Okay, so they're dangerously close to being done. What I did here was I made some brackets and then bent them. The GoPro went dead again, so but this is what we got here. Then I walled it at the inside and then bolted them to the jig, and then now I'm going to weld it all up and go from there. Well, I'm going to try to weld it up if I don't run out of gas, but they turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with them. So I'm going to weld them up real quick, and then we will be done with these jokers. Okay. They are all welded up. You know, I'm getting all right with the old MIG welder, I'm telling you. They're not beautiful, but in person they look real good. There's some back shots there. I am going to weld up the inside, just like I'm going to weld up the inside down there. But I want to leave them on the jig for right now because next weekend, before I start on the tubular ones, if I get to start on the tubular ones next weekend, I'm hoping I will, if I can get this hub situation figured out. But I want to leave them on the jig because next weekend I want to put another bushing collar in here, and that way I'll know where my rear lower control arms go. Like I said, they're moved back on the wagon arms from on the EK arms. So I think I want to keep them moved back. That's why I'm just gonna use this as placement for them. So I'm gonna leave them up here, and then I'll put the collars in, make the rest of the jig, and then pull them off, and they probably won't ever have to go back on the jig. I'm gonna press the hard race rear trailing arm bushings in these, and then clean them up real good. I might even press new bearings in them, and then I'll probably just put them up for sale after I make sure they fit, and then I can use that money to put into tools or into the channel or whatever. I really need to buy a new camera so y'all can deal with better video and not me shaking the camera around. I need to buy a tripod too. So that's what I'm going to try to do with them. But that's going to be it for this weekend, guys. I got to get in and edit this video. And I don't have to do my lesson plan for school because I quit my teaching job, which I just didn't have time for it anymore. I had to come home the other night, and I should have been doing estimates for work, and instead I was working on lesson plan stuff, and I just said, this is where the line stops. I should be doing work stuff, not school stuff right now. So it didn't pay that well anyway, but so I'm done with it. I might have to teach 1 or 2 more classes until they get somebody to replace me. But that means I can put more time into the channel. So that being said, I will see you guys next weekend when hopefully we will be setting up our new lathe and making some cool shit for these trailing arms, for our tubular trailing arms. So catch y'all next weekend.